So to finish this playlist of videos on the revision process, I thought we'd have a look at a quick summary of what to do and what not to do from the Association for Psychological Science. They've obviously done a lot of research into what's effective and what's not so effective when it comes to learning, and they've come up with a list of do's and don'ts. Amongst the not very effective, in big black letters, I hope you note, we have highlighting. People tend to think highlighting is really good, but what you end up with is highlighting everything, distinguishing nothing as particularly important, and it's not very effective, I'm afraid. Rereading as well. Lots of people say, oh, I'll just reread my notes, but you're not really taking anything in. It's just kind of washing over you after a while. And summarising texts, oddly enough, people often recommend this, but it's not particularly useful. It doesn't help things to go into your brain. For the following reasons, really. All three of those are low challenge. They're not really getting your brain active. There's not a whole lot of thinking that's required. The more thinking you do, the more likely you are to memorize things. More importantly though, students often think that by doing them, they're doing revision, and effectively you're kidding yourselves. So you need to kind of be aware that you're not really doing anything at this stage. An interesting quote. It highlights really the fact that memory is all about actively using your brain, and therefore the more actively you can use it, the better you'll be able to remember things. Here are a few more effective strategies you should be looking at. Number one, practice testing. Deliberate practice testing, as we covered in one of the videos further back, will help things go into your brain. Number two, distributed practice. The idea that we talked about early on of interleaving your revision. The more often you see your revision over a series of days, the more effective it is as it goes in. So by the fourth or the fifth day that you're looking at these things, you're retaining more or less 90–95% of it because of the frequency with which you're seeing your material. Elaborate interrogation, asking yourselves questions about what you're learning, trying to work out why it's like that. All of this engages the brain on a slightly different level and gets you thinking about what it is, which helps you to remember it much more effectively. Self-explanation, similar sort of thing. Talking yourself through how things work. The chances are you'll never repeat things exactly, and so the ability to go around a subject and word it differently each time but still get the facts right helps you again to get all of that stuff into your brain well and truly. Interleaved practice we talked about as well, making sure that you are not just doing everything in big chunks, but you're cutting the chunks up and going through them day after day, like this. So day one, you would see 4 topics. Day 2, 4 more topics. Day 3, 4 more topics. Day 4, 4 more topics. But effectively, you've seen topic 1 4 days in a row. Really helps. So in summary, memory is the residue of thought. Think about what you're doing rather than just reading it, and it's much more likely to go in. Testing will also help you to apply things, and spacing it out just means that you're seeing it more and more regularly. It's more likely to go in. Ask yourself why about everything, and you'll be able to explain it and know it in much more detail. Build on what you know and explain your steps in problem solving so that to yourself, as you're talking through a problem, it makes it much easier for the whole thing to go in, context and all, and that way when, let's say, you get a question in the exam which is worded slightly differently to what you're used to, you can still understand exactly what it's getting at and explain it in your own words, no problem.